Hey, baby, this is Bonnie's Eye with Bonnie DeShong and friends. And right now, one of my friends that I'm going to be talking to is Steven Kozlowski. I hope I said that right, Steven.
Perfect.
Okay. Steven is the producer and music supervisor for the film Two Eyes, which is going to be shown at the 40th edition of Reeling, the Chicago LGBTQ plus International Film Festival, which opens up September 22nd and it goes until October 2nd. And we want everybody to get out there and go to the website and look at it and go see these films. Now, Stephen, I have to admit, I haven't finished watching Two Eyes yet, but it grabbed me from the beginning because number one, you start off with this beautiful song that is sung in the beginning of it. And first of all, let's tell them what Two Eyes is about.
So it's kind of hard to put it in a quick blurb, but at heart, it's about an artist who in the 1860s goes out into the West to paint and discover himself, and finds himself and finds a lot more about himself. And then the story tracks another century later, and the beauty of the artist's acceptance carries on for generations. So I know that's kind of a cryptic description, but I don't want to give anything away.
It has to be because you find yourself, when I first started watching it, like I said in the beginning, the song was very beautiful. I mean, the guitar playing and it was beautiful and haunting at the same time. Why did you choose that song?
That song is written by Ryan Casada, who plays Jalen, who's one of the main characters in the 2019 portion of the film. There's 3 time periods in which the film takes place. And that's a song an original that Ryan wrote and performed while we were recording the footage. And it's just such a beautiful song. He did such an amazing job with it that we decided to use it as the title track. It has kind of a Beatlesque feel to it, and just the simplicity, but the beauty, and it is haunting. In a way, it's just such a gorgeous melody, and music is such an important part of the film that carries you through the various time periods.
You know, it does, and also I was finding it's a part of the art. I mean, from the first time period where, and forgive me for not knowing the characters' names, he's an artist in painting, and then in the second he's a photographer. You know, but song is still in that situation also. And then going into the third segment where it's the artist is a musician, and it's a story of awakening, of each one finding themselves. And I know I know I'm just as cryptic as he is, because you want to go on this journey with them, and you don't want to get ahead. I don't want you to get ahead of the journey. When Travis was writing this, though, I kept saying, did he write it as 3 separate pieces and then decided to pull it all together as one? Or did he write it as, because if he wrote it all as one thing, his mind is just mind blowing. I mean, it's just crazy.
Well, Travis Fine, who directed and wrote it, is an amazing writer. The story, the seed of the story started with the 1860 portion, which was the artist Dylan going out with his guide, Dylan played by Benjamin Rigby, and his guide played by Kiowa Gordon. That's how the story started. And Travis started writing it many, many years ago. And when he picked it back up and continued to write it, then all of a sudden this therapist in 2019 started popping up. Then all of a sudden these characters from 1979 started popping up. And so the story started to unfold for him as well. in the way that creative expression sometimes feels like it's divine inspiration. The story started to work through him for these other time periods, and he was, as he describes it when he was writing it, that, you know, he's like, who's this and where is this going? And he was on the journey as well while writing it, and so that's how it started. It started with that one story, which is a very personal story from him, the story of the artist Dylan and his journey, and then these other journeys started to intersect. And you're right, the whole thing is about a journey. It's about a journey of self-discovery and self-acceptance, and love and loss, and eventual acceptance. So it is quite a journey.
Now, Two Eyes, is that a I mean, did Travis come upon Two Eyes and then started writing, or the whole, and then bringing that all the way through each generation of the story? Would you like to say what Two Eyes is?
Well, Two Eyes is kind of our own term that's used in the film, but it's based on the two-spirit concept in many indigenous cultures, in which that you have in essence a non-binary or dual binary, a person who is expressing both genders, male and female, within the same person. And in a lot of indigenous tribes or indigenous peoples, that was a very sacred or holy or revered person within the tribe. And so Two Eyes is a take on the two-spirit concept.
You know, isn't it something that Native Americans or indigenous people would see that as a positive, opposed to now as a negative to some people?
Now more than ever. I mean, it's there's a line in the film. It's my favorite line, and it's in the trailer, so I'm not giving anything away. But when Dylan talks to JC in referencing Papate, who's played by Samuel Jackson, Enemy Hunter, who's also a member of the true member of the Crow tribe and a two-spirit themselves. Dylan comments to JC, "Why is that man wearing a dress?" And JC says, "It's the Great Spirit makes people in many ways. Some are born men, some are born women, some are born special, like Popata, born both men and women." Dylan says, "That's confusing," and JC looks at him and says, "No, it's not," and walks away. And that's the mic drop for me. That's really simply that really encapsulates. It's really not that complicated. And it just is. It just is what it is, and it's real and it's natural, and you know, it's not this complicated mess that people are trying to make it out to be.
Now, picking the music for this, in 1979, the music there, I think is my, well, I can't say my favorite, but because I like both. But I think 1979 is my favorite in the music genre. How did you do that? How did you pick that? How, as well as the person that is singing it is just amazing.
So thank you. And when I read the script, the first draft of the script, I saw the character of Tandi, and I knew exactly who that was going to be in my mind. I just read, this is back in 2018, I just read an article in New York Times about up-and-coming queer artists, and Nikane was in like the top 20 of artists to watch out for. He's a musician living in London, originally based out of South Africa, and has some just amazing music. Find him on Spotify. And just came out with a new single, by the way, with Neil Rogers of Chic. So a little plug for Nikane there. But we wanted Nikane because it just encapsulated everything with that character. And the music, there are 4 Nikane tracks from a previous record, and then 2 live tracks that he does in the film. And in a way, the character that Nikane plays is the Greek chorus that ties the music overlaps between, it's very jarring to go between 3 different time periods. And so we wanted to, there's different ways we approach it to make it less jarring. And one of which is to have the concept of a Greek chorus, which being the music, and Nakani's character Tande, which plays over the various periods, so it connects them. It becomes a part of the connective tissue that joins those eras and smooths out any type of jump that you might feel as it plays on. But the two, and I do want to point out that the 2 songs that are sung live at the club in 1979 are covers that we obtained rights to from the estate of Jackie Shane. Jackie Shane was a little known R&B artist out of Toronto in the 60s and 70s that was and lived, she was transgender and lived an out life as a musician at the time. And we were very deliberate in finding queer artists for all of the music to find someone like Jackie Shane to bring more attention to her work that may get lost if people don't perpetuate the beautiful songs that she had written. So these are songs that she had written that we retained the rights to, that Nakani did covers of. And an interesting note: the first time that Gabriel goes into the bar, there's a song playing, a track playing, kind of a very boisterous, kind of jazzy R&B track. That's actually the Jackie Shane audio recording, her performance. And the song that Nakani sings right after that is the same song, but his version of it. But the interpretations are so wildly different that and I wanted them together so that I could always point out that, say, his cover of that song that you hear right before don't sound anything like each other, and they're completely different expressions, which makes it kind of fun as well. Part of what art is discovering something new, and we wanted to really highlight the music and the musicians and the artists to help people discover Ryan Casada, Nakane, and Jackie Shane in particular.
Being a producer of a film, what made you want to produce this film?
Good question. Labor of love. No, this is my second foray with Travis. We had done Any Day Now in around 2011, 2012, starring Ellen Cumming and Garrett Dillahunt, about a couple in 1979 who, based on a true story, same-sex couple trying to adopt a special needs child, and loved the film. It did fairly well. And so when he brought me the script, I immediately fell in love with the script, particularly because one of the things in LGBTQ community is what joins everybody together is our experience of self-discovery, our experience of coming to understand who we are and eventually accept who we are. And that process is something that everybody goes through within that community. And so this story is a covers and addresses segments within that community that may not see themselves up on screen all that much. And that journey to see, I wanted to be able to bring something that people could see themselves reflected on the screen, because that's so important to see their struggles, their lives, their loss, and to know that it's going to be okay, and to feel that it's going to be that everything's going to be okay. That their struggle is timeless, that people have gone through it in 1868, 1979, and today, and that it's part of the glue that binds everybody in our community together.
What I liked about it too is that it's not beat you over the head message. It's you really get into the people and the feeling of their love and their discoveries and their awareness. And so, and they're all different, but they're all smooth. Am I making any sense?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah, we worked very hard because there are so many characters and there's so many places where you could, fall into tropes or areas in which characters have stories have gone before. We wanted to avoid all of that. We wanted to bring really authentic experiences and authentic characters in ways that haven't been seen before. And we, every step, every choice, I can guarantee you, every step through this film, every choice, every little thing was thought out and given an incredible amount of weight and time, and gravitas in order to weave a complex story, but with characters that you really want to spend time with and enjoy and relate to. It was just critically important.
Stephen, is there anything that you want to tell the my audience and readers about this film that maybe you haven't been asked before, or maybe or something that you want them to take away with them once they see this film?
There are so many. We've had a very wide audience of people who walk away feeling emotionally connected to the film in a way that oftentimes in any type of cinema, there's like one type of story, one type of audience. We've had a large cross-section of people who walk away with a feeling that they've been seen because they see something reflecting their own life on screen, which is critically important what we wanted to do. One of the things we're very proud of too in terms of queer cinema is there aren't a lot of stories with older aging LGBTQ characters that are done that aren't falling into tropes. This has Kate Bornstein, who plays Andrea in the film, an older LGBTQ character that isn't befallen into tragedy, that is telling a story of hope, and that's something that is I hope to see more in queer cinema. That's something but that's also something we're very proud of, to be able to tell positive stories. And I know you haven't finished the film yet, so.
I know. And as soon as I finish talking to you, I'm going back to finish it out. But I can honestly say to everybody out there, you don't have to be queer, LGBTQ, whatever, to enjoy this film, because you can see a little bit of you in discovery in watching this film, whether it was the lawyer who decides he wants to be an artist instead and throws that kind of way away. If it's the young boy who is nervous, who is in singing but has a strength behind the camera, you can identify with that. Even the young person who has fallen in love and thought everything was fine, but really finally finding that they are worth being in love and being loved. Everybody can find a message in this film, and I haven't even finished it yet. And I'm going, okay, this is, I understand. So Steven, we want to tell everybody to go see Reeling, the Chicago LGBTQ International Film Festival. It opens September 22nd. It runs through Sunday, October 2nd. Do you know when Two Eyes is going to be showing?
We're going to be screening at, I think it's Landmark, on Clark Street, and it's going to be on the 29th, which is a Thursday night, at, I believe, 7 p.m.
Well, make sure, everybody, you can go. You can get your tickets at the theater. You can go to the Reeling Chicago LGBTQ Plus International Film Festival site, get your tickets. Make sure you go see Two Eyes. Thank you so much.
And I'll be there to answer any questions too. I'm going to be there in person to answer any Q&A at the end.
Oh, that's going to be awesome.
So coming out to support the festival. This is the 40th the installment of Reeling. It's going to be fantastic, and looking forward to it.
Great. Thank you so much, Steven, and you have a great day.
You too. Thank you so much.
Great Spirit creates people in many ways. Some are born girls. Some are born boys. Some are special. They're both man and woman. That's quite confusing. No. not.
They knew that she had two eyes. One eye to live life and see as a woman, and one eye to live life and see as a man.
He said, don't bring that freak around here anymore.
But a friend saved me.
We're in each other's past lives. Our love could only be right. A road maps in the sky. We radiate a bright light.
What pronouns would make you feel most comfortable?
He, him.
Deal.
You know me. Deep inside of you. You knew me. Before you made a move.
I promise you, you will find your people. You will find love again.
Hey, baby, it's Bonnie DeShong, and this is Bonnie's Eye with Bonnie DeShong and Friends. And right now going on is and I want you guys to know all about this because it's a wonderful film festival. There's film festivals in Chicago going on all around. But this is the 40th edition of Reeling, which is the Chicago LGBTQ plus International Film Festival. And it starts September 22nd, goes to October 2nd. We want you to make sure you go and check out some of these films. They are great. One of the great ones that I have already had the chance to view is a film called Jimmy in Saigon. And its director is Peter McDowell. And you're the writer also, aren't you, Peter?
Yeah, I mean
it's a documentary.
It's a documentary, but yeah, it's my baby. I worked on it for 12 years, so I shaped it for sure.
Well, Peter McDowell is my homeboy from my hometown of Champaign, Illinois.
Right.
And when I didn't know that before I saw the film. So, I hollered when it came up that you were in Champaign. I said, okay, go on. But Jimmy in Saigon I didn't know what to expect. Especially in the beginning of it, because you talk about your brother and him going to Vietnam and everything like that. So I was trying to figure out, okay, where's it going? I understand it, but tell me why you decided to do this documentary.
So I came from a large Catholic family in Champaign, Illinois, and I'm the youngest of 6 children. And my brother Jimmy was the oldest of 6 children. So it was a big stretch of 19 years. He was born in 1948. I was born in 1967. So he was mostly gone when I was a little kid. He was at college at University of Chicago. And then he went into the Army, went to Texas, and then went to Vietnam. Came back as a civilian, went back to Vietnam and died. And I was 5 years old when he died. So I really didn't know him. I don't really remember him. And I just grew up in this really, really sad family. Everybody was sad all the time. And I didn't really know why. And I kept getting, information. When you're a little kid, it's really hard to understand these things. And bit by bit, I got information from my family about my brother. But then when I got to be an adult, I thought, wait a minute, this doesn't really add up. Like, some of these stories don't match. And why did he really go back? And why did he die? And so, my family, when I would kind of initiate those conversations with people in my family, they'd say like, oh, let's not talk about it. And so then I thought, well, that's not helping. So, then, 12 years ago, I started making this film. I decided to interview everybody who ever knew him, including everybody in my family. And 12 years later, I have a film, and we've been in 13 festivals, and we have 16 more to come.
Wow. It's really interesting because in the story, it's like you're finding out who your brother is. And I say is because his spirit is, will always be. But you're finding out who your brother is. But even before he went into the Army, it seems like he was he had different ideas about things. I mean, what did you find out about the young man before Vietnam that you didn't know about him? I mean, I know you didn't know him well, but your parents, you know, in the pictures and everything like that. But what is it that before he went to Vietnam, I'm sorry, I'm not answering this question correctly, did you find out about him that maybe speared him to go?
Well, I mean, he was a little bit secretive. You know, my mom talks about that. He was very intelligent, obviously did really well in high school. But then when he went to University of Chicago, he didn't do well. And I think it's because he felt like he was kind of done with mainstream, you know, in 1965 or 66, when he entered University of Chicago, it was, you know, the counterculture movement was really taking place. And I think he felt like he didn't belong in mainstream American society, and who knows why, you know, what the reasons were. I kind of explore some of those in the film, but I think that he was thinking outside the box, and I wanted to sort of get behind that. I didn't really understand too much about it, but now I think I do. I mean, I think in a way, it's hard to talk about it without giving away too many spoilers, but I would say, like, you know, a lot of people experimented with drugs. A lot of people experimented with sexuality, but at that time it was very kind of new and taboo. Nowadays we look at those things with much less stress, but back then it was pretty intense. And you know, I kind of want to like add some. You know, I say at the end of the film, I love the song "Let the Sunshine In" from the musical Hair, because you know, it was sort of an anti-war anthem, really. And I think I tried to do that with this story with my family, to just say, like, come on, let's just air this out. Let's let some sunshine into the story. And I really love what you said about when you said "is" and like his spirit lives on. Like, that's also like a major part of why I made the film, was like, I'm not going to say goodbye to this person. I want to get to know this person.
And if when you brought up in the film Hair was the very first live Broadway touring show that I ever saw. And the first show that I fell in love with was Hair. Right. To the point of, at the end, crying because of, at the end of the movie, you know, crying because you see what's going on, and the change and well, anyway, yeah, I loved it that you used the reference of Hair. And I grew up in a time when the draft was going on. So in listening to what you were saying about your brother, and his feelings about one way, but then also being caught up in the draft and having to go into the service.
I think that he actually, I mean, I don't really have this in writing, but I think he sort of appreciated the discipline of the Army. I think at University of Chicago, he didn't want to go to class. He didn't want to do any of that kind of stuff. But then once he got into the Army, you know, again, you got to keep in mind, when he went into the Army, he was like 21 or something like that, and still a forming person. And he seemed to sort of enjoy the rigor of, like, now we do this, on this day we do this, we do this. And so even though he didn't like the US and didn't like, you know, the military, I think he found a sense of sort of structure and comfort in it for a while. And I've noticed that before. I mean, my father was in World War II and had sort of, I mean, I know a lot of people's parents or family members had terrible experiences in the service, but my father was in World War II in the Pacific, and he just had a good time. You know, he was like on an aircraft carrier and he had a good time. So. Yeah.
Well, it seems like, okay, so in like, I'm trying to ask questions and not give stuff away too, Peter.
Yeah.
You know, because you really want people to see and understand, because the whole story in you finding out about your brother and going to Saigon and trying to reach people and talk to people that may have known him, you find letters and postcards about him and this family that he lived with there. Yeah. So once you found them, what was that feeling for you?
Well, I certainly I had these letters since pretty much the beginning of the process, and it was my dream and goal to try to find somebody who knew him in Vietnam, and it just took many years, and eventually I did find some people. I'm not going to say who, but I found some people, and it really enabled us to finish the film. We got to a point in 2018, I think it was 4 years ago, where we made a major discovery that allowed us to like keep going. It was an incredible feeling. I mean, it's like a global mystery thriller where I, was looking all over the world, because you never know when in a country like Vietnam, when there were so many refugees and boat people, I didn't know whether these people stayed in Vietnam or they went to the US or Australia or any number of other countries where Vietnamese refugees went. So that was a big part of it. I learned a lot about research making this film.
And your mother, how did you get your mother to, I mean, because she shows a lot of emotion and feeling. And sometimes to me, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, a little confusion. Not that she's a confused person, but in the whole process of talking about Jimmy and relationship with the family and everything like that. How did you get her to actually open up like that?
Yeah, she is an incredible person, and thank you for saying that. She's 98 years old. She's still alive. She's, mostly in good health. She was a willing participant in the film. I would say that the experience of losing her firstborn child was incredibly challenging to her, to the point where, even not in the film, but off camera, she said like she would pray and say like, I don't think I can go on living. Like, I don't know what to do. She actually ended up devoting her life to volunteer work at a local homeless shelter and soup kitchen, and she explained to me recently that she did that work because she had to put her grief somewhere. But, even though, and it's hard, like you have 6 kids, and some people who are maybe not very sensitive people might say like, oh, well, I'm sorry you lost your son, but at least you have 5 other kids, and it's not like that. It's like he was her baby, her little boy, and she just couldn't, she still can't, she can't watch the film. She doesn't want to watch the film. She loves me. She supports me. She supports the film, and she's very apologetic and says, I'm sorry, I can't watch it. It's just too painful for me. She was very natural in front of the camera. And I think one of the things that I love is that she shows authentic and true emotion, but she's also very dramatic. She's almost like a dramatic actress, but she's just being herself. And that's a great, it's a great person to be in a documentary, for sure.
Yeah, she's very open, and you feel every word she says, every moment. You can feel it. Did you get any pushback from any of your relatives or, your siblings or anything?
Yeah, I mean, at first, some of my siblings weren't really sure about it, and especially, I wanted to film on our family vacation, and they were like, "Well, it's too sad. We don't want to talk about that on our family vacation." But pretty soon, everybody kind of came on board, and it's hard. I mean, there's some revelations that are surprising to some family members. I would say that the biggest resistance that I found were from some of Jimmy's friends, and not his old friends, not his like grade school, high school, college friends. They had no problem, but his friends that he met in Vietnam, mostly Americans or expatriates from other countries, they just did not want to talk to me. And I still, to this day, I don't know why. They used phrases like the past is in the past, or why dig up old things, but I really don't know why they wouldn't meet with me, except for that I think a lot of people have PTSD from the wartime. And also people have shame or guilt feelings about drugs. Like they don't want to talk. They wouldn't want to come on camera if the subject turned to drug use. So
When you went to Saigon or went to Vietnam the first time, the very, very first time, did you try to look at it through what might have been Jimmy's eyes to see why he wanted to go back?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I think that, when you have a sibling that you don't know, or maybe even a sibling that you do know, you try to find similarities and say like, in what way is this person like me or different? And I love foreign countries. I love the world. If I wish I could visit every country in the world, But I've lived abroad. I've visited several countries, and I had never been to Asia before. So I was, of course, filled with excitement. My first trip to Asia, and the country didn't disappoint. It was filled with kind, curious, exciting, lovely people, and lovely things to see and eat and smell. And it was just overwhelming for the senses to be in Vietnam. And I tried to relax into it and just say, like, what must have this have been like for him when he was there?
Okay, it's so hard not to talk about, not to give things away. It's a great documentary, because not only do you get and especially in my age group, because living through that Vietnam time, and whenever the draft came up, being afraid of seeing the numbers to see which one of your friends or your relatives are going to be sent over there. Will they come back? Will they come back the same?
Yeah.
And I can only imagine for your family, because he did not pass away in the States. He passed away in Saigon.
Vietnam. Yeah. And he wasn't, and he was done with the army at that point. So, I mean, we got the telegram from the US government because, they handled all that kind of stuff, and he died in an army hospital. But yeah, it was painful. And I think, so many people's Vietnam experiences have been painful. If the person dies in war over there, it's painful. If they come back a changed person and they're never the same psychologically or physically, that's also terrible. I've had many people tell me that they've gone to the Vietnam Memorial in Washington, and they've thought of my brother, and they've looked for his name, even though they knew he wouldn't be there because he didn't die while in the army. And it's true, I had the same experience. The first time I went to the Vietnam War Memorial, I looked for his name. I knew it wasn't going to be there, but it's like we know that it's part of this whole time in our history.
Now, why would this film, Jimmy in Saigon, be shown at the Reeling?
Good question. So it's a film that that I think is equally appealing to people of all sexualities, straight people, gay people, everything in between. I happen to be a gay man. I came out in 1984 when I was 17, and I grew up with a lot of no real knowledge of my brother. And then when maybe 10 years after I told my mom I was gay, she said, like, oh, I always wondered maybe if your brother Jimmy was gay too. And I was really, really surprised to hear that because first of all, she'd never told me. But then she later on was like, I don't know. I don't think so. I think maybe, I don't think he was. But this is definitely an angle that we explore. And I think that one of the things, again, without giving too much away, is that when you come out of the film, when you finish the film, you kind of see some changing attitudes from, like, let's say the 70s and 80s to now in terms of sexuality in the United States, and in terms of the same thing in Vietnam. You see what the cultural viewpoints were about this. And so I think that's why it appeals to an LGBTQ film festival like Reeling.
Well, thank you so much. Do you know when it's going to be showing at the Reeling?
Absolutely. It is on Wednesday, September 28th at 7 p.m. at the Landmark Century Center Theaters. One screening only, and I've been told that it's almost sold out, and they're going to move it to a larger theater within this theater, so that's very exciting. I believe it will also be available for streaming for those people who don't feel comfortable going back into the theater right now or aren't able to come that night. It'll only be limited, I think, for a few days. It'll be on the Reeling website. You'll be able to rent it or watch it virtually. So that's two good options. If you come to the live version, I'll be there. You can say hi to me.
So, well, that is absolutely fabulous. I want everybody to check out. There's many, many great films that is at the Reeling and Film Festival, and it's been going on for 40 years, guys. So they've been showing some really great stuff. You can go to the website reelingfilmfest.org and get tickets and find out more about it. Peter, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Maybe one day when I'm home in Champaign and you're home in Champaign, we can meet up at a steak and shake near you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Hometown love.
I'm telling you. Thank you so very much. And
Thank
I'll
you.
talk to you soon, Peter.
Sounds good.
My eldest brother Jim died in Saigon when I was 5. I don't really remember him. I always thought Jim died in the war. In some ways, the truth was hidden from me. There's always been a lot of mystery about what happened to Jim.
Jimmy was so interested in the rising tide.
North Vietnam cannot humiliate the United States.
A few months after getting home from the Army, Jimmy was making plans to return to Vietnam as a civilian.
And he talked about the sex and the drugs and the food and the music.
We thought that he had fallen in love with some woman over there and wouldn't tell us about her, because that's the way he acted.
But Jimmy was very, shall we say, secretive.
It was pretty clear even then that he was hurting about things.
Hi.
You the gym brother?
Yes. Bonjour. Ça va?
There's just so many unanswered questions.
I remember one frank talk we had, and I said, well, I just wondered, are you interested in girls or are you interested in boys? He didn't say anything.
When I came out, I was like really suffering. To know that I might have had a gay brother could be a really moving thing for me.
I want to get down to every bit of truth, then other people may be resistant.
I really want to know if Jim was gay, if he had a lover.
No, they don't know.
If I can find this lover.
I want to find out the real truth behind actually how he died.
What's that?
Oh, my mother. My mother.
I just feel like I'm on the tip of the iceberg.